Small parties are a vital part of New Zealand politics, very different to how it is in the US, whereas they only have two parties that are actually viable. In New Zealand, our voting system of MMP makes a third party vote not necessarily seen as a wasted vote. Apart from the two main parties, National and Labour, there are currently three small parties in Parliament: ACT, the Greens, and the Maori Party. ACT and the Greens both have 10 seats each, and the Maori Party have 2 seats. And this is not unusual in New Zealand politics since we implemented the MMP voting system in 1994. In the past, it has been the Alliance Party, the Progressive Party, the Mana Party, the United Future Party, which I've made a video about, and most notably the New Zealand First Party, who has been a very influential party throughout the modern history of New Zealand, and has only just recently been voted out in the recent election in 2020. But you might be wondering, why is it so easy to get a third party elected in New Zealand, whereas in America it's so difficult? Well, let me explain.
I can smell the uranium on it as you lean towards it.
Okay, Boomer.
We have the most enormous big gay rainbow across my electorate.
They're not going to win an election.
Let's keep moving!
As I've described many times on my channel, MMP gives each voter in New Zealand 2 votes. One for their electorate MP, basically a local representative to go to Parliament to represent their community of roughly 30,000 voters. This is how voting for Congress works in the US, just voting for a person to represent you in a geographical location. Your second vote is a vote for your favourite party nationally, essentially saying that you like the Labour Party, or the Green Party, or the National Party, or New Zealand First, or the legalised marijuana party, etc. This party vote creates a popular vote for all parties, and all their seats are essentially divvied up from this vote. So a party with 30% of the party vote will get roughly 30% of the seats, so roughly 40 seats out of the 120 seats in Parliament. But this is where the electorate vote really counts. If there is a party with 30 seats in Parliament, the first seats will be made up of people who have won their electorate elections. The floor is made up of other members of the party who may have lost their races or did not even run in an electorate, but they were ranked highly on the party list. The party list is a list of members of the party ranked, and this list is released before the election. Parliament seats will be filled up based on this list in order once electorate seats are accounted for. So that seems easy enough, right? Start a party, get 0.8% of the party vote, and get 1 member in Parliament, right? Actually wrong. There is a 5% threshold for the party vote, meaning that a party who does not receive 5% of the votes will not get any seats based on their party vote, and their votes will be basically thrown into the rubbish bin. This rule is to encourage people to join big or medium-sized parties, instead of every single MP being their own individual faction. This is an issue that you see in Israel, where they also have MMP. Their parliament is fractured so much, with so many parties, because they only have a 2% threshold. They actually used to only have a 1% threshold. This makes it hard to get things passed through Parliament, with so many teams and factions to worry about. An exception to this 5% threshold is the coattailing rule. This rule states that if a party has under 5% of the party vote, but they have at least 1 MP win in an electorate seat, they will be allowed to discount the threshold and have all their seats that they would have been allotted to from the party vote. This has been used to effect by the ACT Party and the United Future Party, but I think the most famous example would be in the case of the Maori Party. The Maori Party has never gotten over 5% in any elections, yet they have gotten seats in 5 different elections. The Labour government recently has discussed getting rid of this rule, which could spell the end of the Maori Party and could damage small parties in the future. Well, New Zealand seems like a paradise for small parties, so why don't we see more of them? Well, there are a few hurdles to get over to be considered a legitimate party in New Zealand. I think the main issue is this term, support parties, which is what we call small parties in New Zealand, which refers to any party that isn't National or Labour. The issue is we all know that a vote for one of these small parties is not a vote for their leaders to become Prime Minister. Not many third parties get over 10%, and we do not consider any of them in contention for the top job. That is why we have a separate debate for the National and Labour leaders, and for all the other small parties. This creates a type of legitimacy to the main 2 parties, and segments them as the only actual viable parties. Basically saying, oh, these parties over here? Yeah, they're allowed to help, but we all know who's really in charge. This can create wavering support for these small parties, with people wanting to vote for the winners, not their supporters. Also, this creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, where small parties don't even act like they want to get the largest vote count, and basically fight for 3rd place. These parties regularly state beforehand which parties they will support in the government, where say the Green Party will come out and make it clear that a vote for Green is a vote for a Labour leader to be Prime Minister. This creates an issue where people go, why would I vote for Greens? I'll just vote for Labour. The media is also a big problem in this, and how they crown a legitimate third party and state that some are just fringe parties. They do stories on the Green Party and the ACT Party and the Maori Party and New Zealand First as legitimate support partners, yet they forget the rest. Look at this paper I got from the New Zealand Herald. It was a piece designed to show the platforms of all parties, and on the page where they show the policies in contrast of each party, they have these legitimate parties, but they don't mention the Top Party or the New Conservative Party or the Advanced Party or whatever Hannah Tamaki called her party. If the media's gonna be fair, they should show all of them, right? Equally. Also, when there's multi-party debates, they don't have all the parties, and some parties are missing. The Advanced Party actually had to sue to get on the stage for the debate. When voters look at these debates, they are meant to be shown their options, not the options that the media companies say that we're allowed to consider. I kind of sound like Donald Trump at this point, going fake news is all the media, but like it's true. Another issue is the fact that the 5% threshold turns a lot of voters off from voting for third parties. A new party, say polling at 3%, would really struggle to convince a lot of voters to throw away their vote and vote for them, because they probably won't hit the 5% threshold. At that point, they lose a lot of their support and will probably end up with like 2% of the party vote at the end of the day, nowhere near the threshold. This will then turn people off more in the next election, where the party says vote for me and the voters go, well, you only got 2% last time, why would I waste my vote on you? I think the two parties that embody this is the New Conservative Party and the Opportunities Party. In 2014, the New Conservatives got 4% of the party vote, a good showing for a relatively new party, but in the two elections after that they got terrible results, 0.24 and 1.5%. Not enough people are willing to risk their voting power on a party that probably won't hit 5%. The Opportunities Party has run in the last two elections and got 2.4% and 1.5%, obviously nowhere near the threshold, but in 2017 when they got 2.4% it actually had more votes than the ACT Party, and in 2020 it got more votes than the Maori Party. In spite of that, ACT and Maori both got seats, where the Opportunity Party did not, because these parties used the coattailing rule to their advantage and had their own electorate seats. So I think we've stumbled over the solution. Electorate seats. I legitimately think the only way there is going to be another third party in New Zealand is if one of them wins an electorate seat first. This would give the party the cover of the coattailing rule to be able to convince the voters to vote for them in their party vote, without fear of their votes being thrown away. Obviously this is easier said than done, as electorates are weirdly voted with a plurality voting system, so the party with the most votes gets the seat, opposed to having to reach a majority. This would mean if a New Conservative Party was running an electorate, it would probably pull votes from the National Party, leaving the Labour Party probably getting the win in that seat. I have a video that you should check out, where I've outlined how electorate seats don't actually matter for the two big parties and are only important for the third parties. An electorate would be so useful for any third party planning on running, and would probably be the only way to fight against the media bias and the populace not seeing you as a party they're willing to throw their vote away for. But I fear if Labour gets rid of the coattailing rule, it'll be really hard to see new parties emerging in New Zealand politics. We'll probably have to say goodbye to the Maori Party and also the Opportunities Party, the New Conservative Party, and any other small party that wishes to get into the game.